If you're the type of person that has high aspirations and you try and fail to achieve your goals, it's okay to die a failure, naive and foolish, as long as you do so beautifully and with integrity. With that in mind, on this 25th and final episode of Czar's Top Shelf, I'll be discussing The Furthest Shore by American doom metal band While Heaven Wept. So yes, this will be the final episode of Czar's Top Shelf, at least for a long while. I don't intend to do any more of these anytime soon. Man, I've got a list of some 30 or 40 additional artists that I really would like to get to and bring to your attention and talk about at some point. I mean, there's a lot of artists, at least a small handful of musicians who are just so imperative to me that I dare not even speak of them. I don't even mention their names. Even with friends of mine, I don't discuss these particular artists. So they're not even on the list. But you could see here looking at this list, there's a bunch of artists that are really worthy of some discussion. I particularly regret not getting the Square Pusher here because he's someone who has maintained his edge and integrity for so many decades. And he remains a massive inspiration to me to this day. But, you know, I think 25 is probably a good number, a good place to stop. So doing 25 of these episodes, it's kind of like me giving you a quarter. You know, I mean, here, take this quarter.
Take this quarter. Go downtown and have a rat gnaw that thing off your face. Good day to you, madam.
While Heaven Wept is the perfect band to conclude this video series. As far as I'm concerned, when it comes to doom metal, there's Candlemass at the top, there's While Heaven Wept just below them, and then there's like a handful of other doom metal bands below While Heaven Wept. That's how important While Heaven Wept is to me. I absolutely adore everything that the band has done. And I think that's largely due to the band's founder and leader, Tom Phillips. He's like the keystone for While Heaven Wept. He writes all the music, composes the songs. There would be no While Heaven Wept without him. And I think that's important because it's not to discredit anybody else in the band. It's a big band. There's like 6 people in the band. And everybody performs their instruments perfectly. They're all perfectly suited for the band. And their work in the band is very much appreciated. But for me, it's the compositions and the songwriting that really just kind of tears at my heartstrings when I listen to While Heaven Wept. What makes them unique amongst all the other doom metal bands out there is there's like a sweet entropy to their style of true doom. I say true doom because the songs are truly about this feeling of doom and regret and grief in a way that is both personal to Tom Phillips, but also relatable to someone objectively like myself. But they do all this with like a romantic succulence. Their music is just so succulent. That's a weird word to use to describe a doom metal band, but this is juicy. This is very juicy music. They do this with this succulence that, like, when your mind is locked into the compositions, when you're really feeling this music, it has the ability to procure both a tear and a smile from you at the same time. Simultaneously, you could feel like crying and laughing together. It's a really weird mix of emotions that no other doom metal band really does it the way While Heaven Wept does. There's like a comfort to the grief of this music, almost a certain feeling of joy that you get from the sadness of While Heaven Wept. The despair that is expressed here is pleasurable in a way that other doom metal bands just don't seem to have a grasp on that element of, oh, I don't know, what's the word? It's like like emotional surgery. It's like they're going in with a scalpel and just pulling and cutting and dissecting certain emotions from your consciousness in a very strategic and specific way. That makes While Heaven Wept unique, I think. We'll be listening to The Furthest Shore in just a moment. It's the first song from my favorite While Heaven Wept album, entitled Vast Oceans Lachrymose. Lachrymose means like of tears, of sorrow. So essentially, this album is about a vast ocean of tears, of people's sorrow, just filling an entire ocean. As is the case like with a lot of the albums and music that I've discussed in this series, the album cover is a very important part for me. And the painting on the cover of Vast Oceans Lachrymose is one of my all-time favorites. It suits this album so perfectly. I couldn't imagine a better cover for this album than what we've got here. Just take a look at it. Let me show you what I'm talking about. So this was painted by an artist named John Martin, and I believe around the 1850s. He's a 19th century artist. And you could see the ocean, the surrounding mountains, and even some sort of like ancient city in the background. They're all connected. They're all one. Everything in the existence of this tiny little ship in the foreground has become a sepia-colored vortex surrounding it. It's like everything, both nature or God and civilization, man, has forsaken that ship. And everything is conspiring against that ship, trying to capsize it. Both nature and civilization, both God and man has forsaken this ship. That's going to come into play when we listen to the song in a moment. So just keep that in your brain for a minute. The ship, you could see like in the top of the painting, the ship is aware that the sun is breaking through the clouds above, but there's nothing that the ship can do about it. It has no way of connecting to the sunlight that is trying to break through this storm that is encompassing it. It's kind of like that sunlight is just tempting him. The way it shines on the ancient city in the background, it's like the sun is tempting him with civilization. Like maybe that was the ship's ultimate destination, was to reach this ancient city for some sort of salvation, some sort of life's purpose, but it's just out of reach and impossible. And the sun is mocking him by illuminating it as the ship is ready to capsize. Because like civilization ultimately has conspired with nature against this ship. That's what is dooming this ship. It's depicted so skillfully, so creatively, so beautifully, just like the music within Vast Oceans Lachrymose. So keep this painting in mind and the way I've described it as we listen to The Furthest Shore. If you're unfamiliar with While Heaven Wept and you're hearing this for the first time, you might be thinking, what is this guy talking about? This is not doom metal. Well, it is. You're wrong and you're closed-minded if you don't believe that this is doom metal. You'll hear what makes this special in a little bit here. I mean, the intro makes it special. It is special, but you'll hear what makes it uniquely doom as the song evolves, because While Heaven Wept is an adventurous band. They're a band that's not afraid to take risks and try different things and create epic compositions that start in one place and end somewhere else. So While Heaven Wept is doom metal. It is proper, true doom metal. It is not some sort of like a stoner, loser, bullshit doom band that you might be more familiar with. This is adventurous. This is romantic. It is a romantic portrayal of loneliness and suffering. Romantic meaning that life as it ought to be. The suffering that is expressed in The Furthest Shore is an expression of suffering and life as it should be. And the more adventurous, the more brave, the more lofty one's expectations are. When someone with high expectations fails, that person suffers to a greater degree than someone with low expectations. So I'm trying to, I'm sort of beating around the bush here to explain why The Furthest Shore and While Heaven Wept is what I would consider true doom. They're heavier doom than some band like, I'm not even naming any other bands, but because they express suffering from the perspective of someone that tried their damnedest and failed, that when existence conspired against someone that did their best and had high expectations for themselves and for life and was let down by all of it. That perspective, the grief from that perspective, it weighs heavier than someone that just never got off the sofa in the first place. Let's keep listening. The protagonist of the song was forsaken by God and man, forsaken by nature and civilization. Think back to the image on the cover with the ancient city in the background and the mountains and the sea all conspiring against this small ship in the foreground. This ship, this man, the protagonist of the song, is a rebel, is a rebel, he's an outcast with a lust for adventure, wants to live, love, and conquer. He sets out from wherever he was originated to embark on a voyage, to find gold, to find fortune, to find happiness, to find purpose, to find meaning. And as he's striking out, he's striking out ultimately against existence itself with the purpose of finding this sense of joy and peace and fulfillment. And each time he tries harder, he is thwarted by existence. Existence stops him in his goals and his self-fulfilling, his self-interested goals. Ultimately, it turns his ship into a sepulcher. Sepulcher is like it's not a coffin, it's like a monument for a corpse. If you go to a cemetery, you'll see like buildings, usually out of cement, small, small rooms, just big enough for like a corpse and one or two people or something. That's what his ship has become. He knows, as he's been out at sea, he knows that doom is inevitable, unfortunately.
I accept that the silence I've sought will elude me forever. Straining against this maelstrom unbound, my limbs frailed and broken. Splintered apart after storm upon storm, my heart and hopes have sunken. Desolate.
He's accepted his failure at this point in the story. He knows that his quest for conquest is never going to be fulfilled. He'll never reach the goals that he wants. So he wants, if nothing else, just a bit of solace, just peace. He just wants to be at peace. And even the simple request for peace becomes no longer realistic to him. His body becomes splintered, just like the framing of his ship is splintered, as his ship is being torn apart by this maelstrom of nature. So is his body, so is his mind and his soul being ripped apart by existence. Music expresses, especially with this next section here, as we have a beautiful instrumental portion, it expresses his internal maelstrom of emotions and regret and sorrow and loathing, just like outside of his body, the storm is a maelstrom tearing apart his ship. All of this causes him, in this instrumental piece here, to reflect on the choices he made, to reflect and to think back on the initial spark of inspiration that caused him to want to seek out on this voyage for conquest in the first place. so long ago. At this point, he's lost all perspective of time. The initial spark of ambition that caused him to want to take this quest, to strike out against existence, that spark is now just a memory from a forgotten time so long ago. Now that his ship has been destroyed, the memories from so long ago are just tortured memories at this point, as he gives up all hope and he is cast into the water with the wreckage of his ship. So at first he's just clutching desperately to like a shard of wood, a plank from his ship's wreckage, only to realize that in doing so and just grasping at anything to stay afloat, he's trying to do the impossible. He's one man against the ocean. A man cannot beat the ocean. It's him against existence, and he's accepting the impossibility of his will to just survive at this point. He's given up on conquest. He's given up on solace. Now he just wanted to survive, and he's giving up on his ability to even live on, to remain breathing. The next piece of music here expresses his acceptance of this watery grave that he has been cast into. It's these moments where there is just this a joyous tear, a smile and a tear at the same time from this just beautiful, beautiful music. Broken and dying, he's now washed ashore. The sea cast him to the shoreline. He's grateful, grateful to be dying. As the last bit of energy he has, he's able to open his eyes and just see the sun set for the last time. Seeing the sun set for the last time finally puts an end to the maelstrom of existence that this individual has been suffering with. Alone, he finally finds peace in death. Death is the only thing that would bring him the solace that he desired. He dies alone on the shore looking at the sunset. A beautiful failure at life. The song and the music here, it's perhaps the only spirit, the only force, the only organized energy that understood this individual on the shoreline that's dying. I'm talking about the music that we're listening to. The music is what is the only thing that understood this man's perspective. The song, The Furthest Shore, understands and sympathizes with our protagonist of this story. It's music that he, on the shore dying, has never heard. He's never been connected to the music that understands him, and yet, in a metaphysical sense, this music has been with him all along. This music has been with him before he set out on adventure, when that first spark of inspiration hit him. This music has been with him when he's failed at conquest, failed to live, love, and conquer. This music has been with him as the forces of nature tore his ship apart and cast him onto the shore. It's always been there. He just hasn't realized that it was there. The music was aware of him, even if he wasn't aware of the music. That's an important theme, I think. I'm struggling with the right words to express what's in my head about what's happening here. So this man is unaware that there is music scoring his triumphs and failures, mostly failures in his case. It's the music's connection to this man, unbeknownst to him, that we as an audience relate to. So there's like 3 points of a triangle. This man, the music that is scoring his life, and us. Our integration into that triangle completes it. We're the third point in the triangle. And in a way, by us being witness to the music that scores this man's life, we are almost kind of like injecting awareness into him about the music that has been there with him all along. So when we relate to him, and the best among us will relate to a man like this, in a story like this, in a scenario like this, when we relate to him and we in our own lives feel completely despondent and lost and tossed to the shore by existence that has conspired against us, and we may feel like there is no music around us scoring our lives, by having this experience as the third point in this triangle and injecting that into him, it immortalizes him, and therefore it immortalizes us as an audience that relates to him. The music that we're listening to becomes more than just a background for us. It becomes meaningful to us because we feel as if it is scoring our lives just as it scored his. I'm not sure if that makes sense. I don't think I'm getting the words right to express what's in my head. I'm struggling a little bit at this. So I'm not sure it makes sense to you, and I'm not even sure it makes sense to me. But that's how I feel. That's how I step outside of myself into the protagonist of this story's situation. And that's how I relate to the music, especially now. We're going to continue listening to the song because it builds to just such an epic conclusion of like ecstatically righteous doom And it feels like this last bit of the song here is a means of immortalizing this man's bout with existence, and therefore ours as well. I probably said enough. Let's go ahead and keep listening. Let's finish out the song.